You know, so they're always eavesdropping, right? Not in our country. It doesn't happen here, right? Alexa.
Alexa.
Right, and we can talk about that because there's always a solution. Yeah, that was the...
original Alexa.
Exactly.
Her name was probably Alexa.
Exactly, and I've got news stories here if we have time to talk about it, where the government really wants access, right? Do you remember the San Bernardino Christmas party?
Yes, I totally
It was terrible. And they recovered one of the shooters' cell phones, right? Their iPhones. And so the FBI said to Tim Cook of Apple, we need you to open that up. And they're like, no, we can't do that because that will violate the privacy of our users. It was a huge battle, right?
I'm glad he stood up because we need people still standing up for things.
Fiercely stood up against them. So, and we can get back to that in a moment too. But just to wrap things up from where we were 2 weeks ago, Trump recently said, enough of these shooters. Maybe there is something to this social credit score and tracking people using big tech from Amazon, Google, Apple devices to determine whether or not individuals should be allowed to own a gun. And then a week ago, another story came out where they're wanting to use big tech to track the mentally ill. Because I believe that's the big problem with the mass shootings. However, the people that are mentally ill are some of the most paranoid people you're ever going to meet. And they might be the first people that'll try and insulate themselves from big tech and tracking. So really, where does it end?
You're going to be more paranoid after this.
You know who makes me paranoid? Sean Paul!
Oh, my God. Yeah, my wife comes in and talks about all these wonderful, inspirational stories. I come in and just scare everybody.
You make us scared.
Yes.
Okay, I want Kelly give some opinions, because I know you got them, Kel.
Well, I do, but I'm just wondering now, my question is, does China, do they just want control, or do they actually think this is a good thing? What do they think? Are they doing the country good, or where's it coming from?
Well, originally they were Mao Zedong and or whatever his name was. I hope I said that correctly. It was a totalitarian government in China, and then they tried to move in the direction of capitalism. And when they did, Chinese citizens were applying for loans, but they didn't have the respect or the sense of responsibility, and they would default on loans and just walk away. And so there was almost like some kind of anarchy over there, and so they were trying to reel their citizens back in, and so that's when they started to institute a lot of these things. But then you can look at what Xi Jinping did, eliminating term limits, and so now they're taking advantage of the system, I think.
Well, I definitely don't like the idea of the government listening in on your cell phone or your computer, and we have noticed when we bring up a subject, sometimes it pops up on your computer immediately. We're talking in a room, and it will come up on your computer. I'm
so glad you mentioned that because, you know, Google used to track everybody based on what you were searching for. But if you go straight to the website, that's why they came out with Chrome, this browser. Now it's every keystroke, every mouse click is being recorded by Google. And then your phones, they track where you go. They're tracking everything. And they do it under the terms of surveillance capitalism, just so that they can show you the type of ads that you're most interested in, which is like what you were just talking about. I was saying to Julie, we should go to Hamner's Theater. I want to see that ABBA show. I didn't type it in. I didn't do a single search. And then the very next night, we go to YouTube and look at all these suggestions.
See, that is
all
scary.
These ABBA suggestions. I never did a search ever. They're just listening.
Jer, go ahead.
I have too many opinions because I just don't understand. I think a lot of politicians get into politics for the right reasons, and once you get there, you get corrupt.
Absolutely.
And it turns into, you get used to the power, the perks, and the privilege. I call it the 3 Ps, because you get the perks, the privilege, and the power, and you never want to let go. That's why some of these, I'm for congressional term limits as well.
Absolutely.
Get those people out of there. There's been some people in there for 50+ years.
Unbelievable.
Blaming somebody who's been in for 3 years for all the problems of our society. And so again, I'm not saying I'm a Trump supporter. I'm just saying, if you've been governing for over 50 years, you're part of the problem.
I agree with that.
And it gets me so livid.
I think they should have the same health care as we.
Absolutely.
I mean,
and did you see the study the other day? I'm on a soapbox now.
Yeah,
you got 30 seconds.
Majority of these people get into Congress and they leave millionaires.
Yes.
How do you make that much money on a government salary unless you're being corrupt and taking money under the table?
You're in the public sector. You're supposed to be a public servant. And yet you get endowed with all these...
How do presidents come out and become millionaires?
Exactly. And that's the word I want to get rid of. All of these, every time you see a state funeral for all these public servants, the only people you're serving is yourself and your family to get rich, and it drives me nuts. You're not a servant. A servant is somebody who waits on somebody, like in Downton Abbey, when you're downstairs serving my lord, my lady. That's a servant. You are not a public servant. That gets gets me so fired
we
up.
have to forget. We don't want to forget. They work for us.
Us. Don't tell me how it is. We tell you how it is.
What have I started here?
I know, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
I need to go pray.
That's all right. Okay, so I have a couple of things as far as
we have to wrap.
All right, well, okay. Go to intriguejournal.com if you want to figure out how to protect yourself from big tech surveillance. Intriguejournal.com.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Siri, please tell the government not to listen to what I just said.
Too late.
They're going to come get me.
Yeah.